Hi, Becky.
Hi, Stephen.
How are you?
Okay.
Jeff will not be joining us tonight.
Is he okay?
I assume he has any other engagement because he was at the building committee, design committee meeting today at 12 and didn't seem to be in any distress.
All
Okay,
right.
so here's a question. You're walking down your road and you think you smell propane gas from a neighbor's house, and you start to approach their propane tanks, which are uphill from you. And you know, propane's heavier than air, so it would move down. So as you're approaching the tanks, the stench from the gas becomes so strong that you don't even get up to the tanks. The house is vacant. The owner died, gosh, I don't know, maybe a year ago, left no will. I mean,
Who is this person? Which house is it?
it's on Lake Drive. I
Okay.
don't know if I know or knew Marty's last name, but
Oh, yeah.
you know. So a neighbor was there, and he was calling the non-emergency number because I said I got to get to my meeting. Hi, Frank.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm going
Very
to
good.
call that into Lenny.
Well, he was calling that
Did he
the
call,
number.
did he call the fire department? Because I was just with Lenny and he never got a call.
Well, he said he was going to call the non-emergency number.
Okay. I'm just gonna, and
Hi,
who was
Anna.
call?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Stephen, who was going to call?
Uh, a young neighbor who lives across the street.
Okay. I'll get on the phone then.
Okay. What I was just talking about is I was taking a walk this afternoon. I was coming back on Lake Drive. Thought I smelled propane, pretty good, whiff of propane. And and since propane's, heavier than air, it's going to be coming from above, not below. So I started walking up towards this neighbor's propane tanks, and the stench from the propane was so strong I couldn't even get
Wow.
close to the tanks. This gentleman died over a year ago. No one's living in the house. I have no
Ah,
idea who to contact. And the one question is, has the house been winterized? Did they drain all the water system down and blow everything out? Because the propane goes to a furnace. But this neighbor across the street, I went and grabbed him and told him what was happening. He said he was going to call the non-emergency number, but
yeah.
Becky's calling Lynn right now.
It was in the news this week that underground 500-pound tank.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, people died. So I mean, it's yeah. Someone should just check it out. It could be but it wasn't like they just filled it because you said if you couldn't get near it, it was bad.
Well, what's interesting is I walk past there every day, and this morning I didn't notice it. I just noticed it now. I had picked up when he was still alive a few years ago. I picked up a leak and I went and I got him, and we turned the gas off, and he ended up spending some money to get a couple of leaks fixed. Um, so Jeff's not going to be here this evening.
Okay.
But I think at 5:32, I can call this meeting to order.
Good. Yep.
I assume Steve is coming back into the picture shortly.
Cooking dinner.
Yeah. Has anyone had a chance to look over the minutes from last meeting? Fairly brief. I did. I think I made a couple little changes.
Hmm. Did you click on the picture?
I did not.
Okay. It's a hyperlink to a picture.
Well, let me bring up this on another screen.
Yeah. Ms. Becky gives me sharing. I can also bring it up. But I decided to try that on this because it was fun.
Well, when she gets back on, could do that.
Okay. What number Lake Drive is it?
I think it's either 31 or 39. I think.
If you go out your driveway, is it to the left or the right?
For my driveway,
Yeah.
you would turn right, head towards, Locks Pond
Oh,
Road.
it's a house that has all the stuff in it.
Yeah, and it looks like it's all plywood on the outside.
And but they've cleaned a lot out. They have cleaned some of it out.
Some, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can you share the screen? Can I have sharing capabilities, Becky, please?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Had Len got a call?
No, he hadn't, we got the address, so he's heading over there to check it out and calling the gas company, but he said it smells like that when it's almost empty, which tells the house has been heated until now. So the heat's just going off probably. And there's another person, his daughter, Sage, somebody is listed. Did I give you the permission, Frank? Did it go through?
Yes, I got it. Is it up on? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Picture of roof construction.
So you click on the hyperlink, and there's the roof.
Wow.
So this is when Anna and I and we were all looking last week and just seeing that it was only up 2 feet. I looked at the specs. It's up 3 feet is the spec.
Yeah,
and not in the valleys. And what I couldn't find online from Ice and Water is the slope of a roof. What's recommended if you have a certain, I don't remember what the slope of this roof is, but they'd have recommendations on some building codes that have had a certain slope at so many feet of ice and water up to the bottom, but it wasn't in the valleys, as we can see.
Yeah, and Jeff and I talked with Cole and I forget the other gentleman, maybe
Mike.
Cole's boss,
Yeah.
and
Chris,
and they don't spec out their roofs with ice and water shield covering the whole roof. I could check the pitch of the roof. I mean, that one section is fairly low.
yeah.
I know that for years in the Asphalt Shingle Manufacturers Association guidelines, if you were under 4 inches per foot, you had to follow what they called special application procedures. And that was basically putting ice and water shield underneath, entire roof. But
I'm sorry, Stephen. So is this the ice and water shield, the blue stuff?
No, the black over here where the cursor is. See on the other side, yeah, that, and you can see a little behind that worker, but that's just, it just shows you there's just one roll, so it was 3 feet up.
Okay. And is the blue stuff full of holes and left over from the last roofing job?
No, they put that down.
That's a breathable membrane.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my hyperlink.
So while we're talking about that, we can assume that if we had a similar repeat where we had a fair amount of snow sitting on the roof, and then we have a heavy rain, that we could have a repeat.
Hmm.
So the question is, how do we activate somebody, or how do we activate getting some snow off that valley area?
Mm. It's a good
Steve?
question.
Steve, question for you. You're muted.
I was gonna say you probably call the highway department.
So would you if somebody called, is that something that you guys could do quickly?
Oh yeah, because we're gonna be on the gutter patrol now, and we could definitely add that to it too.
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess if any one of us realizes that we might have that kind of event coming.
And when we get to the meeting, the gutters in the meeting, I'll show you the pictures what I sent you over, and we'll look and talk about that. The gutters clogging is a major issue.
Well, we can talk about that now.
Okay.
I'm wondering too, just to go back to the possibility of the ice dam backup if we get the snow and then rain, is it possible to get a snow rake for the school so it's on site so that if somebody is there and could do it, they can, and then the highway department's a backup, or at least the tool is there if a person shows up? Would that just put us in a position to maybe deal with it a little quicker?
Well, I think to use the snow rake, you're going to have to be on a ladder.
Mhm.
Because that slope is so low. If you had a steeper slope, you could stand on the ground and do it,
Right.
I think.
You're thinking like you'd be so far away at that low slope to reach it.
Mhm.
I mean, we could get a snow rake. And does the highway department have a snow rake?
Yes, a snow rake with 3 extensions.
There we go.
Okay.
So how many feet does that get you if you got them all added on?
So let's see, they're probably 8-foot sections.
Oh, so you could go 24 feet.
Yeah,
Well, you might
I'm
be
just
able
trying
to
to think
do
of
it.
like, how do we make this as stupid easy as possible, or
Right.
at least, yeah.
I like the idea. Maybe just have someone buying incidental money, whatever you want to call it, and putting a snow rake and having it hung in the courtyard. I think the courtyard's the biggest issue because it's got the wraparound gutter.
Right.
We might have it's the one with the valleys, but I don't know if there's going to be any. Maybe in the back we might have issues going forward. But I like the idea of just putting They're not that expensive.
the highway department has 2.
Oh, good. We do that. That's awesome. Awesome. So we don't have to spend any money.
And we don't use one anyway. If we have that issue going on, we just don't listen, but we put the loader bucket up and you stand
I
on the
didn't
loader
hear
bucket,
that. I
walk up on
didn't
the
hear
roof.
that. Yeah,
and
I
and
never
knock
saw
off the
that
fourth feet of
happen.
ice.
Scratch that from the recording.
Yeah. Well, because it's
Oh.
easier. It's easier that way. That makes perfect sense to me.
But Steve,
It
I'm
might be
glad
worth-
you're embracing OSHA now and have changed your practices moving forward.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, so we'll throw a rope over the roof and tie it off to the truck, and that way we won't fall off.
Yeah.
Never,
But are you over 6 feet, over 12 feet? What's your, the bungee, your OSHA proper protection?
Well, it might be worth going over to the school, into the courtyard with the snow rake and an extension or two, and see if you can actually use it without a ladder.
Yeah.
Because that, if you can use it without a ladder, and if there was one there, maybe the custodian would be willing to work it. Becky?
If there's no ladder, he may be willing.
Good,
Okay,
good.
all right.
That's our recommendation.
Okay, so maybe that's what we can do is go over there, see if it's possible to use a snow rake without a ladder.
I'll do that this week. I'll go into the school and, because there's no school this week anyway. I can get in there with a custodian.
Great.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
There was another issue that Jeff Quackenbush brought up that is similar, Steve. We have I failed in this last round to get Fletcher Drain to do the work that we needed to clean out the drains at the courtyard of the school. They wanted the contract that they sent me included a section that required us to sign that we would be liable if they broke their equipment fixing our facilities, to pay them $5,000. I refuse to sign the contract. I've never seen such a thing. You have no control over the equipment as the applicant, so no. And Jeff wholeheartedly agreed that was ridiculous. So his suggestion was wondering if the highway department might be able to purchase us significantly long enough snake, is that what we call it, a snake? To clean out the drains at the school. What do you think? And we could help with our budget too, Steve. What do you think?
I'll put my little gold hand down. So my catch basin cleaner is coming sometime in April, and he could add that, we could add that to the list of doing him when he comes, because we go to the school anyway. But yeah, we can buy a good snake. That wouldn't be a problem.
What's it
But
called?
Snake.
What kind of snake did you say, Steve?
He said a good snake.
A good snake.
No, Steve, that's the guy with the vacuum machine. Is that the one you're talking about for the
Yes.
catch basins?
Yep.
They have a lot of different size hoses they can stick up all these things and play with it, right?
Yes, he can do it. He can do the catch basins. He could suck out the basement of the old town hall. He can suck out those little pipes. Yeah.
Okay,
What
good.
about the courtyard at the school? Those drains.
Yeah, we just have to back up to like the third grade classroom doorway and, go in that way. Cause I know that when they used to clean out the drains in the art room, they actually ran the nasty hose through the entire kitchen, through the gym, and into the art room to clean out the traps in there. But they don't do that anymore. But yeah, it can get done.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good start.
Could we talk to him and get a price for doing this additional work?
Yeah, I can ask him, but we can also just
Okay.
cut back on a few of the catch basins, because he comes up by the hour.
Okay,
So he could just do that instead of a couple of catch basins.
okay.
Sounds like a-
One thing occurred to me while we're talking about those drains. Assuming that some of those underground drains from the downspouts are still clogged, we should probably take the cleanouts, those cleanout access ports or plugs off. So if they back up, water can spill out rather than staying in the downspout, and hopefully it's not too late, because if the downspout was full of water and we had a good freeze, it could split the seam on the downspout.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's,
I'll
is that-
check, I'll check them out tomorrow.
okay. I mean, I would just for right now, take those caps off and put them in your, put them somewhere safe until the drains have been cleared.
Good.
Okay.
So since we're on the gutters, Jeff and I went back out to look at the gutters last week. And what we noticed was, I think these are the photos that Frank has of the one joint that was actually kind of ripped apart. The rivets on one side were pulled out. That gutter that's on the south side is, I think it's 80 feet long, or maybe longer, and there's no expansion joint anywhere. And so we talked to Cole and who was the gentleman, Becky?
Chris.
Mike?
Chris,
Chris. And they said that there's supposed to be an expansion joint. And then I told him, he told him that a lot of the joints were leaking. And he said that they could have the roofer, the roofer, according to them, they're going to let the roofer know he's got to put in an expansion joint. And then all the seams need to be covered with EPDM to allow for a little more expansion and contraction so that they don't leak. Because it's very clear in the contract that all flashing joints shall not leak.
Well, that's why I don't know if you saw this picture, because I was trying to figure out how I could barely get in there.
Yeah, I mean, I have
Right,
the
this
same.
one right here,
Oh yeah,
when I looked into that, I couldn't get a good picture of it. There was caulking all behind there, so it should have sealed.
well,
I
they
think it
was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the whole thing just popped because it was full of ice. Would even having expansion, well, the EPDM might stretch a little more, but
Yeah, but they need an expansion joint in that long of a gutter.
okay.
The other thing is on the south, on the south end there where we had the gutter installed, we don't need the
Downspout.
pardon?
The leaf catchers?
Right, because it's not going underground. And if there's some debris, the downspout opening is pretty large. The debris hopefully would go out. But
Mhm.
we really don't need those except where they go underground.
Okay.
But I don't think, I mean, if the roofer is trying to say it's because of the ice, that doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I
This
mean,
is all new
because,
to me. Yeah.
I mean, because they're basically be saying you need to check that strainer every week, or before every storm. And if we have a heavy blow as part of a storm, you might get more debris back in the gutter.
Yep.
So anyway, so in talking with Cole and Chris, they were going to let the roofer know. And I said, logically they do this in warmer weather, so sometime in
Yes.
the spring.
So it
not
sticks.
now.
This was most interesting for me. Underneath, you can see the drip,
Yep.
and underneath there was a ice cone that was this tall, because it was constantly rolling over and dripping on the ground and building up. And I just was amused because you can see it coming off the roof, hitting
Mhm.
that flashing, running straight down, and there were several of them all over the place. And I don't know if it's good or bad, it doesn't matter because that thing was draining at that point. But it was interesting to see, 5-6 inches of these little cones because of that constant drip hitting that shaded area underneath it. So I don't know.
So I'm still not sure exactly where was the ice.
On the ground. underneath the drip.
Okay, so what I was seeing is it looks like water's dripping off onto the strap of the holding the gutter on, and it's running across the strap and over the edge of the gutter,
Right.
and that's where the ice was down below.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a problem, but there were about 4 or 5 of these little ice cones, and you can see we could see the wet marks where they were, but the sun had melted them. So I don't know
I
if this
think-
is a problem.
I would
Well-
file that under amusing, the way you
Okay.
had it.
I
Like,
say,
if the water's not sheeting off the roof and it's
Yep.
melting from the sun, it's gonna fall in these drips, and then it's gonna be, if that was sheeting off the roof, it'd probably still hit the strap, and some would
Right.
roll down, but most would splash off. But I
I-
would find that amusing.
I think
Stalactites or stalagmites, whatever,
right.
on the ground.
Okay.
I think ideally the strap should be a fraction of an inch below the top edge of the gutter, and then it would stay in the gutter. But
Yeah. I don't know if
Maybe,
what'd you say?
maybe,
Right.
it's like moving slow enough. I don't know.
Well, go back to that, Frank.
I'll call that art and move on.
So when I was doing home inspections, there was an instance where, different kind of strap setup, but similar on a standard K gutter. And the strap, well, it was actually one of those long nails, those aluminum nails they used to use. And it was tilted back towards the house. And the water was hitting that, going back, going into the soffit above a bay window and dripping out into the living room from the bay window ceiling.
Wow. Well, this has the right angle because it is going into the courtyard. So
Yes. That's better, yes.
This kind of reminds me of like in residential where like this one, the gutter's like tucked up behind the drip edge, but oftentimes there's a little gap. And so when the water's just dripping off the roof, that last little bit, sometimes it falls right between, like behind the gutter.
Oh, right.
And that just like, that sometimes that happens. The gutter isn't making the groundwater, proof. It's just getting most of the bulk water most of the time out of the way.
yeah, we got a kick out of it then. So
I like it.
Okay, great. So moving back to item 2. So Becky, what's our takeaway from that meeting with capital planning?
do you want to vote the minutes, Stephen, first? To get rid of them?
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
Right.
Should have done that a long time ago. Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from, where is this? From the January 24th meeting?
I motion we approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Cook,
Cook eye.
McGinn,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Sullivan, I.
Elmas, aye. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
And I just want to put my, I'm afraid I've got an assessor meeting at 6:30, just to put that in your calculator again. And
Well,
there,
we will stop at 6:30
thank you.
or 6:29.
Perfect. They're understanding if, something has to happen that goes beyond, but that'd be
Yeah.
great.
So Becky, take away from the capital planning meeting.
I feel like, I think it went very well. I think the presentation of the tool was really helpful in helping educate a group, that group of people as to how you are moving forward. I think the questions, I did not, again, hear any requests for additional materials like I heard the first time. So I think the request is moving forward. The next step, the capital plan has at their final meeting reviews all projects and votes on approval or disapproval at that point. And I don't think that will happen at the next meeting. It might. I think it's February 27th. So I'm anticipating that the town building committee's projects will go forward to the finance committee. And then it's the finance committee's job to figure out funding. Right
Okay.
now, I have placed the $40,000 as an appropriated fund for the building renovations account to be used by the building committee in the budget. We're having a very high budget year, a lot more requests for spending than we normally have. So, funding, there's going to be a lot of discussion by FinCom on how to fund everything. But at this point, I think both the school project, and the renovation account are in good shape. So thank you all very much for showing up. Really
On
appreciate
that note, Stephen, Bob Groves asked for a copy of the spreadsheet, and I wanted
Oh,
to bring
right.
that up
Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
meeting. Is this something that I wouldn't share the spreadsheet like I share with you all? I'd rather see a PDF printed up and shared, so they can just look and see and not change and say this is as of Thursday the 5th or whatever, a moment in time.
Yeah.
But is that something do we want to do as a committee? Do we want to give both the capital planning and the finance committee a copy of that, so it's kind of a good thing in our favor of getting things approved, that this is what we're doing?
Well, I guess a couple questions. Would we want to just give them a blank copy, or do we want to give them a copy of something that one of the buildings?
Well, with a blank copy, it would be so someone could fill it out. Are we looking to get that kind of input from others, or do we all want that
No.
generated by us?
No.
So then I like Frank's idea of the PDF, because then it is dated, it's a moment in time, and
And it shows a high priority that they were impressed with that. The capital planning was impressed with that, and we can impress the finance committee that we need this $40,000 because look at all the red.
Yeah.
High priority, and we don't have a money fixture to it, but we gauged it based on when Anna said how much is a square roof and all that stuff. So
maybe the town hall spreadsheet, which is the most complete and has a lot of high priority items, might be the one to give them.
why would we give? Oh, go ahead, Becky.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Frank, I love the approach. That's exactly what I do with the budget. I
Mhm.
only give out the PDF. I do not give out the active document to anyone. I don't do it because I've had issues with people trying to imitate the budget. And, but I think that's the way to go.
And I think we should give them all,
and
give
not
them the
to give
whole,
them all.
give them the whole kit and caboodle. Don't give them one, give them all, and then we'll put it with a letter saying there's stuff we still haven't even looked at. So there's more money that we'll need in the future, because you'll see there's blank pages. There's things that don't have any explanations because we haven't done that inspection, and we will be doing that in the future. But we need the $40,000 to complete all this stuff that we've looked at so far, and there's going to be more after this because no one's done an inventory of the buildings in years. And then
Nobody's ever done an inventory of the building.
okay, but then this kind of throws it at them, and they can say, how can they not say no? Because it's in front of them. This is what we need to fix. And this is what our charge is. And I know if it's going to be a tight budget year, $40,000 isn't a lot of money. When I was at the capital planning meeting last night, listening to it last night with my husband, there's some big budgets out there. So, especially the school. So I think, Steve, if you just give them the whole thing, it's like, just a copy of the whole thing. And it's just like, we're doing our job, and this is what we have, and this is how much more we even have to do.
yeah,
And then
I agree. Because
I agree.
more information about buildings we haven't inspected won't change anything about buildings we've already inspected. So hand it off now. Yeah, all sounds good to me.
Do we want to, is there a way to, we've developed this spreadsheet, right? Is there a way that we can protect this? Can you protect, like if you take a photograph and you copyright it, somebody can't use it without
No, I
you.
don't.
Can somebody take your spreadsheet and decide to use it without your permission?
Well, you're not gonna give them your spreadsheet. You're only gonna share a PDF without any active so not, it's only gonna be view.
Image. Yeah.
It's going to be an image, so they won't see the drawdowns. They'll just see high priority. They won't know if you're good with spreadsheets, anyone can just look at a picture and say, "Oh, I can make that." I'm good with spreadsheets because I've been doing it for years, and that's how I did it. So, I don't the protection and spreadsheets. I use Google Sheets, so it's an open source thing. But just giving them the
PDF gives them just the image of it, and if somebody wants to go to the nth degree to recreate it to like fraudulently do something, it's a lot more work than if we give them the Excel. And I guess I mean, maybe I'm naive, but like I don't think anybody on the town committees are looking to like fraudulently recreate a PDF. It's more it just doesn't make sense. We're a small committee and we want to be creating this. We just don't want the like open source thing out there. You don't want a bunch of multiple copies or 10 different cooks in the kitchen. So it just makes sense to kind of limit who has access to it.
Well, I guess in the back of my mind, I was thinking, at some point, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if we could offer our spreadsheet for sale to other small communities. You like that,
I
Becky?
like it. I
Well,
like it.
I
and then we
love
can
it,
pay
but I
for
gotta
all
tell
our
you-
time.
So we
Free ice sculptures
this
with
is-
every. Right.
the system we use to put all our agendas up online, that was created by an individual from a small town. And you can tell, and he now, he gave it to people for free. The town, I don't believe ever paid anything for it. He maintains it. He doesn't advertise clearly. We're just not at a enterprising level like that. Sorry.
So then we should offer it to other small communities.
Yeah.
We could, if they're interested, you could share it with them.
Do you feel adequately shamed for trying to sell it?
No, I think it's a great idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if you had been at that FinCom meeting, the FinCom folks were that was their first run at the budget. And I guess about 5 years ago, we were faced with COVID uncertainties. So we had a lot of critical moments, but yeah, it's going to be a tougher year, but we'll work through it.
It is a great document though. It'd be a great resource to other towns.
Mhm.
And if we find a buyer, if you want to help out the budget, go for $142,000.
Nothing less.
Nothing.
Right.
That's exactly what we need.
Okay, so that was number 2. We've talked about
And
3.
one more quick thing, I'm getting back
Yeah.
to that. So if we're going to show that with capital planning and finance, we should include the select board too.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. I'll get it all ready and you can write the letterhead, Stephen.
Okay.
What a team.
Yeah.
Becky, I was just curious, do we have a quorum or what's our quorum amount for this committee?
3.
3.
3, okay. And you
total.
don't count?
I don't count.
Okay.
I never count.
Okay.
I get to vote at town meeting.
Okay, there's that. Thanks. I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 3. So you had 4 tonight, which is great. That's basically more than 50%.
Is that how the quorum works? Is it a 50% or is it a
Majority, I thought.
Or it has to be a
Majority.
majority, so if
Okay.
you have, that's why we don't have 6-member committees, because you need 4,
Yeah.
and you have fewer bodies to draw from, and
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Thanks.
So it's, Frank, so it's capital planning, finance committee, and select board that we're gonna,
Yep.
okay.
And then Becky, when I print this as a PDF, will these people have access to legal size? Landscape legal size? Do you have that at the town hall?
yeah,
Okay. It's going to be a lot easier to read than an 8.5 by 11.
yeah.
So
Well, would there be any sense to could have the introductory letter, and what if Becky, can you print them out and actually give them copies? Would
Yeah.
that make sense?
oh, we go. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, you
You
could
won't
probably
see everybody, because most of these, the select board meets in person, but the other committees are all on Zoom.
But they have their little cubby at town hall.
Yeah, they could come pick them up if they want to. But if you're sending them out, most people print their own. Not everybody. Some people
Mhm.
don't have printers.
and they can come to town hall for it. And yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll include Becky on the CC copy.
If you send to the selectboard.org, I'm included anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You send it to the head, whatever that committee is, and they all get it. Oh, no. Do we have to send it to every individual?
No, just selectboard@shutesbury.org. We'll go
And
to
then
all
what
the
about the
select board
FinCom?
members,
And then what
myself,
about
and the admin.
what
sent.
about FinCon? Do they have the same thing?
No, so either I have a group email for FinCom, or you send it to AJ and AJ can send to the rest of the members.
Okay, send it to the chair of FinCom and chair of capital
Yeah,
planning.
and they have I think a Google Drive or something that they put documents into.
Good, then they can have access and they don't even have to print it up. They can bring it on their screen. Awesome.
Yeah. Steve, that looks good. Whatever you're chewing on looks really good.
Okay, so moving on
Yes,
to
yes.
number 5. Jeff and I went out when we were at the school looking at the gutters. We also looked around a little bit more at things related to the trim, siding, soffit repair, replacement, and painting. And then we looked at the proposal from Gail. And Jeff was concerned about the spec for the painting, which thought was pretty minimal. I think it just says like clean the building, doesn't have any description. And there were a couple other things. And then there was the question about paint or stain. And Becky, I don't know if you have anything that would give clarity to this, but Chris from Gale thinks that paint has been applied at some point, or maybe most recently, and you can't stain over paint. You can paint over stain. So that's why they're specking out painting. And we also talked about that any raw surface would be spot primed, then the building would be primed, and then there'd be 2 top coats. And then I had noted, and I'm not sure if Jeff had, but they had, I think, used the original plans for the construction that they had gotten from Becky, which showed a 5/4 inch fascia tongue and grooved. And in reality, it's only 3/4 of an inch. So, and then there were some places where they were thinking that any wood trim that was going to be replaced would be PVC because that's what we said we wanted on the back. But we corrected that that's only going to be what's on the back, and corrected. There were a few other places where they were calling out 5/4 when it should be 3/4. So they said they were going to take care of that and then send, a revised document. And I'm assuming you haven't gotten that yet, Becky.
I should check my email before we finish, because I emailed back and forth with
Cole?
I'm just gonna call him Cole today, and he said that he had met with you and Jeff, that he and
Yeah.
Chris had met with you and Jeff,
Yes.
and that they were, because he had told me that once we have the hunt, that to move it ahead after we have the 100% plans, and so they're gonna bring forward the 100% plans with all your changes in them for review. And he
Okay.
said he would do it today, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
My other question is, because I'm not in the knowledge of it in the painting world, is what does last longer, stain or paint?
Well, I think with painting, preparation is the key to how long it lasts. If the building's well prepared, so the paint adheres, you can get 10, 15 years out of a paint job. But if it's not well prepared, 5 to 7 is probably what you're going to get.
Your paint, just since it's more opaque, is gonna resist more of the UV. So I would think, the material behind it, whatever it is gonna break down quicker under a transparent or semi-transparent stain over paint. It's a good question. Just
Cabot
other
makes an
very-
opaque, doesn't it? Did Cabot make an opaque stain?
I think so. I think they have like a semi-transparent and transparent or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever their
Like,
language.
my dad used to do it on our house every 4 or 5 years, and it looked like paint, but it was a Cabot stain. I remember that. So
It's a good question though. Because I think there's other variables too that would add to it in terms of like what Steven said, and exposure, which side of the house, is it shaded?
Yeah.
All that other stuff.
we know the red didn't last as long as the rest of the colors.
But, I think the red is a good example of the red really isn't protected. There's no overhang over the fascia, but the siding and the trim, for the most part, there's a generous overhang.
Mhm.
And the siding, I think the paint or stain, whichever it is in very good shape overall.
Mhm.
It's on the trim where that green paint or stain has broken down and gone down to bare wood in places. And there are a few spots on the siding, but usually it's where something has abraded against it. So we will have to be very diligent in being there to observe and make sure they're prepping, well, everything, but prepping.
Prepping.
And, we'll want to see, like, after everything's been spot primed, or before they even spot prime, because there are 2 levels of prep that Cole was asking us about. One is basically do nothing, scrape a little bit. The other is, sand, feather. That's the way it kind of reads. And there wasn't a lot of difference in cost, so that's what we said to include. So, and then we'll see what they spec for cleaning. But Jeff and I are both pretty adamant about not pressure washing.
And can we have in the contract, I don't know contract, but this type of contract that we have to sign off in between each stage so that we don't, they don't quickly do that one prep and say, oh yeah, we did that on this one and it was fine, and then they went
Right.
to the second, things have to be signed off so you can see the initial prep and the prime and then each coat.
Well,
I don't know if you can write contracts that way.
well, I think we can look at the document that we get back from Gail and see what they state in
Mhm.
there. And then, there's going to be a meeting with the contractor prior to the job beginning. And actually before that, when, it's put out to bid, if contractors come to look, and we can also discuss that, that we want to be able to see this, you have to give us this much time, or we want, I mean, since there are three of us that aren't working full time, hopefully one of us could,
Yep.
come pretty quickly if we were notified.
Hmm.
And I've handled all the pre-bid meetings in the past. But it'll be great to have people there to really review the details.
Yeah. So when we get this get this new document, I think it'd be good if we all tried to go through, unfortunately, it's very lengthy. But, going through it, I think we each are kind of might be looking for different things, which is probably good. Because then, one of us might catch something that somebody else doesn't.
And Jeff's very patient at reading all those things. I am not.
Yeah. Well, I think what's good is, Jeff has done that for years. So, I mean, he picks out things like I'm good at looking at sizes, dimensions, and sort of very specific things, but all the kind of boilerplate contractual stuff, it's like put me to sleep.
Stephen,
Yes.
so I'd been talking to Cole about, because originally they had wanted to get the bid out by, I think, the first of the month.
1st of March.
Yeah. And that's around the corner.
Yeah.
I just got an email at 5:13. It doesn't have our stuff. You just answered a question for me. Wow, I didn't like his answer. So I asked because I asked if I paid bid docs directly or if it was going to be part of their billing. And he said typically the fee is $750 for bid docs, but we carry $1,800 because the cost will go up if contractors request printed documents.
They don't pay the companies to get them.
So they're gonna charge us to produce for the vendor. That's that's more than double.
Well,
I'll have to call them.
I guess another question would be, was it set up this way for the roof?
On the roof, I believe I paid directly. So I'll call and I'll follow up on this.
Okay.
But what we didn't get back is 100% yet. I'll
Okay.
ask him if it's coming.
So, I mean, our next meeting is going to be on the 6th.
I guess my concern is if we have to hold putting out the bid for a week just for the meeting, or if we get the 100%, if you guys, we could either schedule a meeting to approve the 100% so I can go out to bid, or what would you like to do? Because I know you want to review the 100% before we go out to bid,
Yeah.
right? given all the new changes.
And we'd really like Jeff to read the whole thing too.
Well, I guess first question, would everybody be available next Wednesday for just to go over this?
Yep, I'm available.
And, you know, if we all say, read it through beforehand, and have our thoughts ready, we could present those pretty quickly and then get them back to
Before
Gail.
that
That would
sounds good.
help.
Yep.
That would, it would save a week, for sure.
Are you
That would be
talking
very,
about- You're saying a week from today?
Yeah, the
Mhm.
28th,
Yep. Okay, great. I have my
5:30.
calendar. Yep, that works.
that works.
Zoom again.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
Did you want to do it in person, Anna? No.
Are you hosting? Take a tour of the pottery studio?
Yeah, I could do that.
Mr. Sullivan, are you available next Wednesday?
Good.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll set that up and I'll also send an email to Jeff saying and I'll send Jeff an email saying we're going to have that meeting and we're hoping very shortly to get the documents from Gail for us to review.
Awesome.
And Becky, once you get them, you'll send them to everybody?
yeah.
Okay.
I think he sends them to Jeff already, but I send them to
Yeah.
everybody.
I can't remember if he sends them to me or not. I mean, he's got
I
my,
think he started to.
okay, now I know it's not 6:29, but it's 6:25. So we'll give Becky time for a bathroom break.
Live it up, Becky. This is it. It is
I might
good.
even have supper. It's 4 minutes.
Ah,
You get to start your
So-
day late on these days that you stay late, or is it just like a slog for you all the time? Just,
Slogging through.
oh, I'm
Sometimes
sorry.
I run later. So I'm not always in by, yeah. Sometimes I run like 9:30,
Yeah.
but
Well, that's
Okay.
all right. Thank you for all that you do. That's a lot.
thank you guys. It's
I
so
motion
I
that
great.
we-
hear a motion that we close this meeting.
I motion we close.
Second,
Second,
on favor, Cook,
I.
Ginn,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Sullivan, I.
Dalmasai. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.